In a world filled with noise and uncertainty, our children need more than protection. They need anchoring. True strength doesn't come from the world. It comes from hearts connected to Allah. When we talk about raising strong kids, we're really talking about raising souls that can stand firm when life shakes, hearts rooted in faith, compassion, and resilience. Our role is not to make their path easy, but to remind them where their true strength comes from. Always, ultimately, from Allah. To raise strong children, we must first understand what strength truly means. Strength is not the absence of struggle, nor is it the appearance of perfection. It is the quiet resilience of a heart, anchored to something deeper than circumstance, deeper than the world, and deeper than the shifting tides of people's judgments. When a child's strength is built upon the foundation of their connection with Allah, they become capable of carrying life with a different kind of grace, one that does not break at the first sign of hardship, one that does not crumble under the weight of expectations, and one that does not find its worth in the fragile approval of others. When we speak about raising strong kids, we are really speaking about nurturing souls that know where to return, where to seek comfort, where to refill when the world drains them. And this cannot be taught only with words. It is lived, it is modeled, it is breathed into the spaces of our homes through the small, quiet actions that children absorb more deeply than we often realize. Children's hearts are tender by design. They are impressionable, moldable, receptive. What they see, hear, and feel becomes the soil from which their beliefs about the world and about Allah take root. If their earliest experiences teach them that love is conditional, that worthiness must be earned, or that mistakes make them unlovable, they will carry those beliefs into their relationship with their Creator. But if their experiences teach them that mercy is present, that forgiveness is accessible, and that love can be constant even in the face of imperfection, they will grow up seeing Allah as He introduced Himself, the most merciful, the most loving, the one who is closer than their own breath. This is why parenting from a place of mercy is not simply a parenting style, it is spiritual education. It shapes the lens through which a child views Allah, and therefore shapes the strength of their inner world. A strong child is not one who never cries. A strong child is not one who never feels fear. A strong child is one who knows what to do with their fear, where to carry their sadness, and where to find calm when the world becomes overwhelming. Many parents, driven by love, often confuse strength with emotional suppression. They teach their children to stop crying, be tough, or don't be sensitive. But suppression does not create strength. It creates distance from themselves, from others, and eventually from Allah, because a heart that is taught to hide cannot easily open itself in vulnerability to the one who calls His servants to speak to Him with sincerity. A heart that has been told to silence its emotions often struggles to find comfort in dua, because dua requires honesty. It requires articulating the very emotions that were once pushed aside. True strength begins with emotional awareness, emotional expression, and emotional grounding in the remembrance of Allah. A child who knows that Allah is with them navigates the world differently. When they face difficulty in school, they do not collapse internally because they have an invisible support they have learned to lean on. When friendships become complicated or hurtful, they do not define their worth by who includes them or excludes them, because they have been raised to understand that human acceptance is not the measure of their value. When they are confronted with fear, whether fear of failure, fear of disappointment, or fear of the unknown, they have an anchor that reassures them that nothing happens without meaning, nothing happens without purpose, and nothing happens without the love and wisdom of Allah flowing through it. This kind of spiritual grounding creates a resilience that no pep talk, no lecture, and no worldly achievement can provide. It is a source of strength that renews itself through prayer, through trust, through remembering that they are never alone. One of the greatest gifts we can give our children is the understanding that the heart finds rest only in the remembrance of Allah. Not in toys, not in grades, not in accomplishments, and not in people's praise. When a child learns from a young age that inner peace is accessible through connection with their Creator, they stop chasing peace in places that can never give it. They begin to understand that every external thing is temporary, but the one who created the heart is permanent. Teaching this does not require deep philosophical discussions. It begins with simple practices woven into daily life. When a child feels scared at night, instead of dismissing their fear, guide them gently to recite a short dua or say Allah's name with you. When they feel sad, sit with them, validate their feelings, and remind them that Allah sees their heart even when others don't. When they feel proud of a success, teach them to say Alhamdulillah and recognize that every gift is from the one who loves them. These small habits form spiritual pathways in the child's mind and heart, pathways they will walk again and again as they grow older. Strength rooted in Allah also means teaching children that hardship is not punishment. Many adults struggle with this concept, often because they were raised to associate difficulty with failure or disappointment with inadequacy. But when children learn early that hardship is part of life, part of growth, part of spiritual elevation, they stop fearing it. They stop internalizing it. Instead, they learn to approach hardship with curiosity, patience, and trust. When something doesn't go their way, instead of spiraling into self-blame, they begin to ask themselves what Allah wants to teach them through it. When challenges arise, they can meet them with a heart that whispers, this is not breaking me, this is shaping me. This orientation toward life is one of the most profound forms of strength a human being can possess. Modeling this perspective is crucial. Children do not become spiritually anchored simply by being told to trust Allah. They learn trust when they see it in us. When a child witnesses a parent turning to prayer during a stressful moment, they learn where to turn. When they hear a parent say Alhamdulillah, even when things don't go as planned, they learn gratitude that transcends circumstance. When they observe a parent apologizing after a mistake, they learn humility. When they see a parent forgive, they learn mercy. When they witness a parent admit uncertainty yet still move forward with dua, they learn tawakkul. Our actions become their teacher long before our words ever do. This is why our spiritual growth is inseparable from their spiritual development. Parenting is not only a responsibility, it is a mirror that reveals to us the state of our own hearts. To root a child's strength in Allah, we must also create an environment that nurtures reflection rather than constant distraction. Our modern world overwhelms children with noise, screens, stimulation, instant gratification. These things weaken attention, dull emotional awareness, and disconnect the heart from silence, which is a necessary space for spiritual sensitivity. Children need quiet moments, time to think, time to observe, time to breathe without inputs, time to feel their emotions without being immediately distracted away from them. It is within these quiet spaces that they begin to notice Allah's signs in the world around them. It is within these spaces that they begin to recognize the whispers of their own souls. Strength grows in silence long before it manifests in action. Another element of inner strength is identity. When a child knows who they are, truly, deeply, they are not easily swayed by pressure, trends, or the shifting identities of those around them. Teaching identity does not mean giving them long lectures about morality or insisting they memorize lists of rules. It means showing them the beauty of being connected to Allah, the honor of having purpose, and the dignity of being created with intention. It means telling them stories of prophets, stories of people who held on to truth with courage, stories of hearts that loved Allah more than the world. Stories plant seeds, stories shape imagination, stories create models of strength that children aspire to embody. When a child sees strength as something noble, spiritual, compassionate, and rooted in faith, they begin to desire that strength for themselves. It is equally important to teach children that the path to Allah is not linear. They will have days of clarity and days of confusion, days of spiritual closeness and days of spiritual distance. They need to know that fluctuation is normal, that struggle is normal, that mistakes do not disqualify them from Allah's love. If they grow up believing that they must be perfect to be worthy of Allah, they will hide from Him when they need Him most. But if they grow up knowing that Allah welcomes them even when they stumble, they will run back to Him again and again. This is the heart of spiritual strength. Not never falling, but always returning. Not being flawless, but being connected. Not being unbreakable, but being carried by the one who can never be broken. A strong child is also one who feels safe enough to ask questions. Spiritual curiosity is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign of engagement. When children ask about Allah, about good and evil, about destiny, about suffering, they are trying to make sense of the world in the way every human soul does. If their questions are dismissed or shamed, they learn to silence their spiritual growth. But if their questions are welcomed, explored, and responded to with patience, they grow into adults who feel comfortable seeking understanding rather than suppressing confusion. A child who learns that questioning is part of the journey will one day become an adult who continues to seek truth rather than drift away from it. To raise strong children, we must also protect their hearts from being overly attached to the dunya. This does not mean removing them from the world or denying them joy. It means teaching balance. It means helping them understand that the dunya is temporary, beautiful but fragile, enjoyable but not dependable. When children experience success, remind them gently that success is a gift, not a definition of their worth. When they experience loss, remind them that loss is not the end of their story. When they desire something intensely, teach them how to make dua, how to seek it through halal means, how to accept if Allah grants it or withholds it. Through these small teachings, they learn that their hearts should remain free, untied to anything except Allah. A heart that is free in this way cannot be enslaved by insecurity, by comparison, by jealousy, or by fear of missing out. Another dimension of spiritual strength is gratitude. Teaching children gratitude is not simply reminding them to say thank you, it is helping them see blessings even in challenges. It is showing them how to look for Allah's mercy in the details of life. Gratitude expands the heart. It makes room for resilience. It reduces entitlement. It nurtures humility. When a child grows up recognizing blessings, they develop a sense of abundance rather than deficiency. They learn to see the world through a lens of hope rather than scarcity. This orientation shapes their reactions to difficulty. Instead of despairing, they look for lessons. Instead of feeling powerless, they look for what they can control. Instead of focusing on what they lack, they appreciate what remains. A grateful heart is a strong heart because it is constantly nourished by the remembrance of Allah's generosity. Patience is also a pillar of inner strength, but patience, especially for a child, is not learned through force. It is learned through guidance. When a child must wait for something they want, use the moment gently to teach them that waiting is part of life's rhythm. When they are frustrated, help them breathe through the moment rather than snapping at them. When they face difficulty, remind them that Allah rewards those who practice patience. Over time, these teachings shape a child who can tolerate discomfort, delay gratification, and persevere through challenges. Patience is a spiritual muscle, one that grows through practice and encouragement. To build a child's spiritual strength, we must also be mindful of the language we use. Words carry immense weight, especially when spoken to a developing heart. When children are shamed, belittled, or compared, their internal narrative becomes one of inadequacy. But when they are spoken to with kindness, encouragement, and truth, their hearts expand. They begin to believe in their potential. They begin to trust themselves. And a child who trusts themselves is far more capable of trusting Allah. Affirmations do not replace discipline, but they give discipline meaning. They teach the child that guidance is not punishment, it is care. Ultimately, Raising children whose strength is rooted in their connection with Allah means raising children who understand that they are loved unconditionally by the one who created them. When a child's heart carries this truth, they walk through the world with a quiet confidence. They do not seek validation from every direction. They do not crumble at the first sign of disapproval. They do not define themselves by temporary failures. Instead, they navigate life with the awareness that they belong to Allah, that they are guided by Him, and that every moment of their existence is held within His mercy. This is the kind of strength that endures, the kind that carries a person through the and beyond. To teach emotional resilience through compassion, presence, and modeling, we must first understand that a child's emotional world is fragile, sacred, and constantly forming. Their hearts are like uncarved clay, soft enough to take the shape of whatever hands hold them, whatever words shape them, and whatever environment surrounds them. Emotional resilience does not appear in a child by accident. It grows through thousands of small experiences in which the child learns that emotions are safe to feel, safe to express, and safe to share with the people who love them. Many of us grew up believing that resilience meant suppressing emotion, hiding weakness, or pretending that everything was fine even when the heart was breaking. But true resilience is never born from suppression. It is born from compassion. It is born from presence. It is born from the gentle modeling of adults who know how to move through their emotions without being ruled by them. When children see that emotions are not dangerous, they learn courage. When they see that emotions are not shameful, they learn authenticity. And when they see that emotions can be grounded in faith, they learn hope. Children feel deeply. Their disappointments feel like catastrophes. Their fears feel enormous. Their sadness feels overwhelming. A small child crying because a toy broke is not simply reacting to the toy. They are reacting to loss, uncertainty, frustration, and the sudden disruption of their world. Their emotions are pure, raw, unfiltered. And in those moments, what they need most is not correction, but connection. Emotional resilience begins with the assurance that emotions are not something to hide. When a child hears "stop crying, don't be sad, or you're too sensitive," they learn that their feelings are not welcome. They learn that vulnerability is unsafe. And when vulnerability becomes unsafe with people, it often becomes unsafe with Allah too. A child who is told to silence emotions will grow into an adult who struggles to turn their heart toward the one who heals hearts, because they learned early that the heart's honesty is a liability. But when a child hears, "I understand you're upset, it's okay to feel sad," or "I'm here with you," their emotional world becomes safe enough for them to grow stronger. Compassion is not indulgence. Compassion is guidance delivered through softness, and softness does not weaken a child. It strengthens them from the inside out. Presence is another dimension of emotional resilience. Presence does not mean always being physically near. It means being emotionally available. It means slowing down enough to truly witness a child's heart. Children do not feel seen when we buy them things, fix all their problems, or fill their schedules. They feel seen when we sit with them without distraction, listen without rushing, and show them through our attention that their inner world matters. In an age of constant noise and digital overwhelm, presence is one of the greatest gifts we can give a child. When a child feels that their emotions matter to us, they learn that their emotions matter in general. When they feel valued, they learn that they are valuable. A child who feels emotionally seen develops internal stability because the ground beneath them feels secure. They learn that in moments of distress, they can reach for connection instead of collapse into isolation. This emotional stability becomes the foundation upon which real resilience grows. But presence requires something difficult. We must confront our own emotional patterns. Many adults avoid being present with children's emotions because they were never taught how to be present with their own. If crying made their caregivers uncomfortable, they learned to numb. If anger was met with punishment, they learned to suppress. If sadness was dismissed, they learned to hide. These patterns become unconscious habits, shaping how we respond to our children without even realizing it. Teaching emotional resilience, therefore, is not only about the child's growth, it is about our healing. A child's outburst often awakens unresolved emotions within us, and in those moments, the child becomes not the problem, but the mirror. To teach resilience, we must be willing to see ourselves reflected in our children's reactions. We must be willing to grow alongside them. Emotional resilience is passed down, not through perfection, but through the humility of adults who are willing to relearn, unlearn, and soften for the sake of the hearts entrusted to them. Compassionate parenting does not mean allowing every emotion to dictate behavior. It means acknowledging emotions while guiding behavior. When a child is overwhelmed with anger, validating the feeling does not mean condoning harmful actions. It means helping them name the feeling, understand it, and channel it in a healthy direction. Emotional literacy is a pillar of resilience. When a child learns words like frustrated, disappointed, worried, or confused, their internal chaos becomes organized, their inner storms become understandable, and when something becomes understandable, it becomes manageable. Teaching emotional vocabulary is not academic. It is spiritual. It strengthens the heart by giving it language to navigate the complex terrain of human experience. A child who can name emotions is far less likely to be controlled by them. Modeling is perhaps the most powerful teacher. Children learn how to deal with emotions by watching how we deal with ours. If they see us explode when stressed, they learn volatility. If they see us shut down, they learn avoidance. If they see us bury pain, they learn suppression. But if they see us breathe through frustration, they learn regulation. If they see us apologize after losing patience, they learn accountability. If they see us turn to Allah when overwhelmed, they learn spiritual grounding. A child who witnesses an adult stepping aside to make dua or recite a verse of the Quran in a moment of tension learns something profound, that emotions can be carried to Allah, not hidden, not feared, not suppressed. They learn that spiritual tools exist for emotional healing, tools that connect the heart to the one who designed it. Modeling does not require perfection. In fact, perfection is counterproductive. Children need to see how a flawed human returns to Allah, not how a flawless human avoids mistakes. Strength is not built by observing someone who never falls. It is built by observing someone who falls and rises again with grace. Emotional resilience also grows when children learn that emotions come and go and that they are not permanent. Many children crumble under strong emotions because the emotions feel endless. A moment of sadness feels like a permanent state. A wave of fear feels like a lasting reality. Adults can help by gently reminding them that emotions pass like waves, like wind, like seasons. This reminder is not meant to minimize their feelings, but to give them hope within the feeling. When we tell a child, I know this feels big, but it won't feel this way forever, we are teaching them patience. We are teaching them perspective. And perspective is one of the strongest roots of resilience. A child who recognizes the temporary nature of emotions becomes more capable of riding emotional waves without being swallowed by them. Another facet of resilience is teaching children that it is okay to make mistakes. Children who fear mistakes often become emotionally fragile because every error becomes a threat to their worth. When mistakes are met with harshness, shame, or disappointment, the child learns to fear failure. And when failure is feared, resilience cannot grow. But when mistakes are treated as natural, as expected, as opportunities for learning, the child becomes braver. They become more willing to try again. They learn that resilience is not about never falling. It is about rising with new understanding. A child who is allowed to make mistakes safely becomes an adult who can handle setbacks without spiraling into self-loathing or despair. Resilience also requires boundaries. Compassionate parenting is not boundary-less parenting. Boundaries give children safety, structure, and predictability. They teach children that emotions are real and important, but not the sole driver of behavior. Boundaries teach children how to regulate themselves within safe limits. A child who grows up without boundaries does not feel free, they feel overwhelmed. But a child who grows up with consistent, fair, and compassionate boundaries develop security. They learn that they are held, guided, and protected. When boundaries are combined with emotional validation, resilience grows in a balanced, healthy way. The child learns that emotions are allowed, but harmful actions are not. They learn that love comes with structure, not fear. To build emotional resilience, children must also be taught how to soothe themselves. Self-soothing is a skill that grows through practice, not through force. When a child is distressed, we comfort them first, but we also gradually teach them tools to comfort themselves. Tools like breathing slowly, making dua, reciting a short verse, holding a comfort item, taking space, or asking for help. These small tools empower the child. They teach the child that they are not powerless in the face of emotion. They teach them that they have agency in their emotional world. A child who knows how to self-soothe is far more resilient than a child who relies solely on others for emotional grounding. But self-soothing grows best when modeled. When a child sees an adult pause, breathe, whisper Ya Allah, or recite something calming, they absorb these tools effortlessly. Children imitate what they witness. When they witness calm, they learn calm. When they witness faith woven into emotional regulation, they learn that Allah is the ultimate source of emotional strength. Resilience is also strengthened when children are taught empathy. Empathy expands the heart. It teaches children to understand perspectives beyond their own, to consider how others feel, and to navigate relationships with sensitivity. Empathy reduces emotional impulsivity and increases emotional awareness. When a child learns to pause and consider another person's feelings, they are practicing emotional control without even realizing it. Empathy can be taught through simple moments, asking how another child might feel, pointing out kindnesses, discussing characters' emotions and stories, or acknowledging the impact of their actions on others. Empathy does not weaken a child. It strengthens them by giving them relational wisdom, which is essential for emotional resilience. Gratitude also plays a role in emotional resilience. When children learn to appreciate small blessings, their hearts develop emotional balance. Gratitude shifts their focus from what is missing to what is present. A grateful heart is less reactive and more grounded. Gratitude teaches children that even in difficult moments, something good can still coexist. This balanced perspective helps them navigate emotional turbulence without falling into extremes. Gratitude can be cultivated through simple daily reflections, through modeling thankfulness, through spontaneous moments of saying Alhamdulillah together, or through pointing out Allah's kindness in ordinary details. Gratitude softens the heart without weakening it. To build resilience, children need homes where emotions are not feared, homes where tears are not a nuisance, homes where anger is not met with shame, homes where sadness is not dismissed, homes where emotional honesty is valued. These homes become emotional sanctuaries, teaching children that their inner world is not a burden, but a reality that deserves understanding. When children feel emotionally safe at home, they become emotionally braver outside. They are not easily manipulated, pressured, or shaken by external forces. Their stability does not come from silence, but from security. Patience with a child's emotional process is essential. Emotional growth is not linear. Children will regress, explode, melt down, become overwhelmed, and express emotions in messy ways. These moments are not signs of failure. They are opportunities for teaching. They are invitations to guide, to soothe, to walk with the child through the storm rather than pulling them out prematurely. Resilience grows when children experience emotional